Hey guys, welcome back to Flicks Recap. My name is Luke Pelletier, and today we're covering the 2011 comedy The Change-Up, starring Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman. Before we start, be sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and of course subscribe to Flicks Recap if you dig the breakdown. And, as a disclaimer, this video includes my own personal commentary and analysis. It's not a substitute for the film itself. Links to purchase the film are in the description below. Alright, let's get down to it. The movie starts off by introducing us to Dave, a husband and father of twins, being woken up by his two babies crying in the other room. He gets up, goes to the other room, and changes their diapers. They don't let him off that easy, though. His first baby squirts milk powder in Dave's face, and the second one poops directly in his face. Dave still pulls through, and after being finished changing their diapers, he takes them to the living room, and he sits on the couch with them as they're drinking their milk. That morning, when Dave gets to work, Mitch calls him, one of his best friends that he hasn't seen in a while because he had twins and is busy with work and life in general. Such is the way of the dad. While on the phone, we see Mitch in his apartment. He's stoned, and his apartment looks like it would if you'd asked an 11-year-old to decorate. They're total opposites. Mitch reminds Dave they have plans tonight, which Mitch totally forgot about, but acts like he didn't. Which is when Dave's dad visits him, so they hang up. Dave's dad, who's pretty disappointed in him, lets Dave know he's getting remarried next Friday. That night, Mitch comes over to Dave's to pick him up, and he gets to have some time with the kids, who he thinks are mentally under the weather, or handicapped because they can't talk. When they get to the bar to watch a baseball game, they take shots and start talking about life. Dave asks Mitch if he's dating, and Mitch starts telling him all about this woman that he's involved with, named Tatiana, who really only uses him as a booty call. Dave starts wondering if he made the wrong decisions in life, settling down early and having a 9-to-5 when he could have been free of all that just like Mitch. But Mitch tells him that he envies his life and him being able to come home and feel loved every day. Then they walk over to a fountain because they both need to piss, and while they're peeing, they both tell each other that they wish they had each other's life. And all the lights go out as if there's a blackout. The next morning, Mitch wakes up hearing a baby crying, and when he looks up next to him, he sees Dave's wife, naked, breastfeeding one of the twins. Totally shocked by this, Mitch gets up thinking he slept with Dave's wife. But when he looks into the mirror, he finds out he is Dave. We then cut to Dave, now in Mitch's body, waking up in his apartment. Mitch is at the door, and when Dave opens up, he tries choking Mitch because he still thinks he's dreaming. When he realizes that it's actually real, he looks in the mirror and freaks out. Then they realize this all happened because of what they said at the fountain the night before. So they race to the fountain, but when they get there, it's gone. It's being restored. So they realize they're just gonna have to deal with it for now. Later, Mitch goes to Dave's work as him because he has a big meeting that he's been waiting on for months. When he gets to the meeting, the room is totally full already because he's late. He tries settling in, which proves itself to be pretty difficult, and then he gets asked a bunch of stuff no one who hasn't studied law would understand, so naturally he messes up the entire meeting. At the same time, Dave, in Mitch's body, goes to the set of a new movie that he's supposed to be playing in, but Mitch didn't tell him any of the details, and when he gets there, Dave finds out that it's a porno. He starts playing the part, and just as he thinks he can't get any worse, another guy comes in to join the scene. We cut to Mitch picking up Dave's daughter, Kara, from ballet practice where he sees her being pushed over by another girl. In the car back home, he asks her why she didn't do anything back. So she tells him it's because he, Dave, told her to try to work things out verbally. Mitch tells her to forget about that, and next time, hit back 10 times as hard. And always solve your problems with violence. That night, Mitch and Dave catch up on how bad everything went, and they decide they've had enough, so they go over to Dave's house and try to tell Jamie, Dave's wife, the truth. However, they don't succeed. They actually fail miserably because Dave tries telling her something very private that happened in the bedroom, and she thinks that Mitch told Dave, so she walks off pretty angry. That night, Dave gets a call from Tatiana saying that she's coming over. He makes up his mind and decides he has to just go through with it. But when she comes in and takes off her coat, she's pregnant. Like, very pregnant. Which throws Dave off, so she gets mad, storming off because she thinks he doesn't like her anymore. I feel like pregnancy is a little bit beyond liking someone. Alright, if you've made it this far, you're kicking back and enjoying the video. Now would be a great time to subscribe to Flicks Recap. Subscribing is absolutely free, and it helps me bring you even more dope content. Okay, plug over. Back to the recap. That night after watching Jamie take a dump right in front of him, Jamie wakes up Mitch at 3 in the morning because it's his turn to feed the twins. So he calls Dave to ask what he should do. He follows Dave's instructions a little too literally, which turns the twins into killer babies for a second, and he ends up literally pouring milk over their heads. The next day, Dave tries to find the fountain again, but all to no avail. When he gets to his house to tell Mitch about it, he finds Jamie crying and asks her what's wrong. She tells him about how Dave doesn't pay enough attention to her and that she feels alone. Dave didn't know she felt like that, so he wants to start doing better, but of course he can't, so he tells Mitch he's got to do better and teaches him everything about being himself, Dave. That day at work, Mitch gets called Dave by his own dad saying that he wants to talk. They have lunch, and his dad asks Mitch to convince Mitch, let me know when it starts getting a little too confusing, to give a speech at his wedding. He didn't want to ask Mitch himself because they're both not great at showing their feelings. He also tells Mitch, still in Dave's body, that he thinks Mitch is a quitter, and that he wants him to accomplish more and be a bigger part of his life. This motivates Mitch even more to be a better version of Dave because he doesn't want to be a quitter like his dad thinks he is. So he starts being a better dad, showing up to work professionally, and going grocery shopping. That night, Mitch goes to Kara's ballet performance with Jamie, and when the girl that pushed her earlier tries doing it again, Kara tackles her instead, in front of the whole crowd, and Mitch stands up, applauding, saying that's his girl. That night he spends some more time with Jamie, and when he tries to start pleasing her, he can't get it up. Jamie says it's okay, and then Mitch falls asleep in her arms. The next morning, Dave wakes up at 6:45 in the morning, but he realizes he doesn't have to do anything. So he goes back to sleep and tries enjoying being free as much as possible. He goes to the cinema, tries cooking a meal for himself, takes a walk, tries karting, and even visits an aquarium. That night, Dave has a date with this woman who works for him. Mitch knows he's been eyeing for years, so he set them up for a date in Mitch's body, even though Dave's married. When they sit down, the woman, Sabrina, tells Dave that she only agreed to go on the date because her boss asked her to, and she wants to keep her job. So Dave says in that case they should just get out of there. But Sabrina says she's hungry and she came all the way over there, so they might as well stay. They stay for dinner and actually hit it off. When they're done, Sabrina suggests doing something they'll really regret in the morning. So they both get a tattoo. And after, when Dave walks her home, she asks him to call her, even though it wasn't a date. The next day, while skating, Dave gets a call that they've found the fountain. He goes to Mitch, who's also been called, but they're both kind of sad since they just got the hang of being each other, so they decide to postpone changing back for a bit. That night, while Jamie's waiting on Mitch, who's supposed to be on a date with her, he's working and totally forgot about it. The next day, Dave goes on another date with Sabrina, which she actually asked him on. They go to a baseball game, while Mitch goes to the meeting he's been preparing for to sell the company, and he makes the sale. After Dave's date, he takes Sabrina home and she tells him he's going to get laid that night. At the same time, Mitch is receiving an award from his company for being their best lawyer. But as his boss is giving his speech about Dave's life, Mitch realizes he shouldn't be the one receiving the award. And Dave simultaneously realizes that he shouldn't be fooling around with Sabrina when she reminds him of his daughter. So Dave races over to town hall, walks in, kisses his wife, which convinces her that they were actually telling the truth about being switched, and they go back to the fountain where it all began. But when they get there, it's in the middle of a busy mall. They pee into the fountain with everyone looking at them and simultaneously say, "I wish I could get my life back." The lights go out again. Mitch and Dave disappear, and the next day they both wake up in their own bodies again. Dave makes up with his wife and tells her that she and the kids are the most important thing to him. And then he takes care of the twins and Kara. When Mitch wakes up, Sabrina's at the door to apologize for coming off too strong the night before. He tells her not to apologize because he probably acted kinda gay last night, and they go out for breakfast. Later that day, Mitch also goes to his dad's wedding to be his best man. We cut to Jamie and Dave's anniversary party a month later. Mitch is now together with Sabrina, and Dave and Jamie's marriage is better than ever. Dave asks Mitch if it's weird that he misses his penis a little, and Mitch tells him it'd be weird not to. The end. I remember seeing this movie when it came out in theaters, and it was a good rewatch. It certainly begs the question, are you comfortable being in your own body, or would you honestly wish you could have somebody else's body? Just for a day? What about forever? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next recap. Until next time.